Hi John, so who are we talking to on the show today?
Peter, today we have Chris Corner on the show. He's a walking football coach who focuses on helping people deal with the challenges of Parkinson's disease.
That's an interesting approach to dealing with a challenge like that. I understand Parkinson's is one of the fastest growing diseases in the country at the moment.
Well, if that's the case, then it's certainly going to impact a lot of people.
Okay, let's listen to the interview.
Okay, Chris, welcome. Chris Corner is with us this morning, or this afternoon, wherever it depends what time you're picking us up from. Chris Corner, tell us, who are you? Where are you from?
So, I'm Chris. I live in Cheam, which is close to Sutton, which is sort of the South London Surrey border. I am a sports coach helping people with long-term health conditions and additional needs. Lifelong football fan, playing, watching, coaching, and up until just over a year ago, career corporate treasurer.
And family background, where did you grow up?
Born in Wimbledon, raised in Surbiton. I've lived here for best part of 30 years.
And family background, you've got kids?
Married, 2 kids, 2 boys, 19 and 16. Also very sporty. They've got their dad's sporting interest and genes, sporting ability, both of them somewhat beyond wherever I got to when I was their age. So I'll put it down to good coaching.
Good. Were your parents sporty?
Not particularly. My dad ran his own business and was hard work as a small business. Worked 5.5 days a week, and sort of his downtime didn't involve spending too much time on the football field. Mum took me and my brother here, there, and everywhere. She loved doing that for her boys. But, I think she was a little bit sporty when she was younger. But yeah.
And your personality? How do you? If we were to describe you, how would you describe yourself?
I think I'm pretty easygoing, quite laid back. Yes, sort of from my prior life, very considered, analytical, quite calm and thoughtful. Clearly, on the football pitch, that's subject to change, but normally laid back and easygoing.
So your family background, sort of self-employed father was. Did that push you into a corporate world? Do you think that certainly did influence you to think, oh, I'm going to go and start my own business or anything?
I mean, I saw how hard he worked. Yeah, he started with, very up at a small business. Always very clear he didn't want to go sort of into the corporate world. Didn't want to sell it until he got to retirement at least. It's slightly strange that I never really had a particular interest in taking over his business. There's something about the corporate world that interests me. I think the range of roles that you can do and experience in different countries across different sectors was very interesting to me, but again, no particular.
And do you have any career highlights? Were you, did you meet the Prime Minister of the time or whatever one it was at the time?
Not quite that. I mean, so corporate treasury, managing the financial risks of for 9 international organisations across almost 2 years. The highlights were putting up treasury teams from scratch, which we did in a couple of organisations, having that blank canvas. Day one was really interesting. Another thing I'd pick out just some of the big sort of funding deals that we did, so working with banks and bondholders in the US and Europe, and raising, I think, 750 million euros was the largest single deal that I led. But it's quite.
And did you see sport a release from that world, because it's pretty intense?
Yeah. I probably worked as hard as my dad, not necessarily. You can, a fundraising deal, for example, you are totally absorbed by that. But sport for me, both individually, I've often make sure I get myself out for a run or a bike ride, just a bit of me time, getting away, but also as the kids got older, coaching their football teams on a Saturday morning, always made sure that was something I wanted to decide if it's all possible, and make sure I did that. So you're right, it's just a complete release from the 95 and a bit more for the rest of it.
And so you were playing, coaching, other sports? Were you doing, cricket on Sundays and trampolining on Tuesday afternoons or whatever, or you just football?
No, I mean, football's the main passion. There's other, I'll have a go at cricket and tennis and a bit of golf maybe. I think certainly in terms of the kids coaching, again, time for for that was limited, so sort of the football on a Saturday morning, I didn't feel able to change, but again, you don't want to set these things up and then not be able to.
I mean, I think the interesting thing, Chris, I sat on the other side of the fence here. I was providing funds. I sat in banks and worked in bond syndicate, so I sat in that kind of similar corporate world, albeit the enemy, probably. But I take your point very much about, I played football on the Saturday and the Sunday, late into my 50s, so I benefited from that release, that benefit to mental health. And I suppose my interest is, from your perspective, I noticed from your LinkedIn profile you've done some work in the mental health space, you've got some qualifications in that area. Did you see a real positive link between that release, involvement in some sport, and how your mental health was improved by that, and that environment in which you could release frustrations or whatever it happened to be from your working week?
I don't think I was ever aware of that link early on in my career. Probably the last 5, maybe 10 years ago, that became more apparent. And I guess within that mix of particularly stressful what I was doing at that sort of time, where you're having to walking point, across society anyway at that time, but then realising actually, that run that I made sure I went for a couple of times a week, actually that wasn't just me being selfish to go out for a run, there was a real benefit to that from a mental point of view. So as I say, that's become more apparent to me in recent years, and then thinking about what I'm doing now, I was really keen just to make sure that I was starting to do a few of the qualifications and some of the training modules to broaden some of that experience.
It is interesting how, like yourself, I used to go for a regular run without really understanding the mental health benefits, but it's only more recent times that I've become more aware of the corporates I worked in do. Do you think corporates now have got that, or have they still got a ways to go in terms of improving people's mental health, bringing them to sporting events to kind of help with that?
I think certainly my experience, and again, the last few years of my career worked in 3 different contracts, sort of a year and a half, and then so you've seen a number of organisations post-COVID, for example. That's it. The awareness of the importance of mental health, providing the wellbeing programs, a little bit of space for people to manage their own lives, and if they say that people are going to stay there for the scope more. On the whole, certainly in the larger corporate space, I was the awareness is so much very important.
Yeah, I agree. I think the companies I became more and more aware as time went by. But so why walking football? Was walking football because of the age group of the people who tended to do it? That was something that you could bring something to?
No, I think a few more steps along the way, I guess. I mean, I'd always liked the idea of a bit of a career change or career pause. I really wanted just to give myself a little bit of time to explore whether I'd actually enjoy doing sports coaching if it was 5 days a week rather than just a little bit of time at the weekends. So just gave myself what I call at the time an extended career break. Got in touch with Sutton United, which was my local football team. I've been a supporter there since moving into the area 2000, so 25 years ago. In touch with them just to see what I might be able to do to help them from a volunteering point of view, but also expected to be getting in touch with a number of charities. I wanted to do some good volunteering locally with some charities that were important to me. That first conversation I had at Sutton United actually made me realise that through the foundation at Sutton United we'd be able to touch a number of those charities directly. So rather than having different conversations with different charities, just signing up with Sutton United, one of the things they wanted to do, it's a great organisation, the foundation there, not overblessed with a number of staff and volunteers, so it's very much needing to focus on the 3 key areas that we want to develop rather than spreading ourselves thinly. But what I didn't have at the time was someone to work with living with long-term health conditions, so really good coverage of underage group, girls football, with school support, special needs school support. No one could take on that older age group. So I said, I'm really happy to give that a go. And I sort of took myself down to a walking football session, which was an established group, been running a number of years now, the walking football team, and so went down there and played a couple of times and saw what they did, but it was a very well run, attended group. And whilst I was keen to help out, you particularly need me there from the coaching point of view, the refereeing point of view. So again, part of the conversations we were having, to see if we can set up an additional group alongside the walking footballers for those people who may not quite be able to keep up with physicality to walking football. So with some funding from Parkinson's UK, we started in September last year, Parkinson's football group is very much based on walking football principles, but also trying to bring a more of an all-round exercise session that happens to be on a football pitch and a football game, making sure we're also bringing in sort of exercises that really get full body workout, outcomes from a cognitive point of view as well as a physical point of view.
So Sutton United obviously have had an interesting 5-6 years. I used to kind of go and see them, and it was almost like, what time can you get here? And you think, I'm at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, I'd be there at 5 to 3, and there'd be 200 people there.
Yeah.
To Football League status, Wembley final. I remember they played Arsenal in the FA Cup a couple of years ago, and now they've come the other side. They've sort of slipped back down. Do you think they were open to this? Has it changed in the terms of, obviously they had more money maybe 2 years ago than they have now, or is it? It must be difficult being a National League or Conference League, whatever they're called this year, those Vauxhall Conference Leagues, at that level of the football pyramid, to get cash and time and everything else to do it. Have you found that?
The foundation, it's a charity, it's a separate legal entity to the football club. We're linked to the football club. Use the facilities and the premises, and we get a lot of support from them, but ultimately the funding that we receive from certain organisations like Parkinson's UK, that doesn't depend upon Football League status. There was a drop in funding from that relegation out of League Two. It was still supported by the National League Trust, whereas before it was through the EFL, the English Football League. We still participate in EFL, hence I go on EFL training programs and initiatives. So just because we've been relegated, it doesn't mean that gets cut off. I think there's a recognition that what we're doing is as valuable to the local community as any League Two.
Sure.
Is doing. So it's a little bit harder from a funding point of view, but it's not like the doors completely closed once we've fallen out of the Football League.
It's good to hear. I do remember taking the boys. I think we used to beg tickets for the last 2 or 3 games of the season. Right. There'd be a bunch of kids going down there, which was great fun. I mean, they were very supportive. Always been a local club, but sometimes it's. They had the artificial pitch. I wondered if that was, you were able to use that as a facility, but obviously then Football League, you couldn't. The pitch came up, so whether that meant all of a sudden there was this struggle for not being able to use the club's facilities as such, and so that you sort of spread your wings a little bit wider around.
Yeah, it's got a bit harder. The walking football at the moment is played at the local goals in North Cheam, so again, still very much at the heart of the community, but just not having a club facility on hand makes it a little bit tricky.
People with conditions like Parkinson's, how do they find these sessions? Is it something that the charities lay on, or does Sutton United proactively go out there and advertise these services in the community?
We're up and running. It's sort of pretty much down to the foundation to publicise those. In Parkinson's UK, we speak to on a regular basis, and they publicise what we do on their website. So if somebody is searching through the Parkinson's website for local football, we'll up and be guided in that direction, but at the same time to be sufficient here and generate additional players to come along our own. And again, that's been a whole new world. Me, social media, speaking to the council, local radio, and posters up around the club and on match day. So it's a real the number of different ways that you can try to attract attention to the building. With frankly not quite as much success as I hope. I mean, we've got a very good community of about 25 people that come along to the football induction sessions we run right now. We'd love that to be more people. We're continuing to spread the word and try and find what the most effective way of spreading the word is.
And do you find that if people start coming, they come regularly, or is that something that people come and go? Does it become something like a real benefit for them? They recognise that benefit that they stay.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 25 that come to the it's more come to the football than the boxing right now, but the boxing only started up in March this year. Yeah, I would say any given week we've got 12 or 14 come along to the football and 5 or 6 that come along to the boxing. In the week someone's away or something else come along, but on the whole it's the same people that come back, and then every couple of weeks or so you'll get a new face. More often than not the new face is back the week after. We've got a few people it doesn't work out. On the whole, people do sort of regular and new starters.
And is it measurable, the success that you have with people coming? Is there any attempt to measure how that impacts on people who do attend?
The true benefit, no, you can't measure it. In terms of the feedback that we get from the regulars, it's very positive. I think for me, what I was expecting people to get out of it was, I love coming along. I used to play football, I love coming along to like football and enjoying it. What I hadn't realised was the social benefit people from it. So there's 2 people in particular that come to mind that said, before I came along to these football sessions, I'd never met anybody else with Parkinson's. I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to talk to other people with Parkinson's. But I come along here, I can just be myself, I can share my experiences, I can learn what other people are going through. I've just been on some new pills, how are you finding the pills, I'm thinking about this treatment, how do you get the treatment. So Parkinson's UK said, when you set these up, make sure you finish with a social session, tea, coffee, biscuits. Every week after football, pretty much everybody stays for 20 minutes, half an hour. It doesn't matter. So I think that's really important for a number of the participants.
And do people tend to then use that as a bedrock for a social group that meets outside of the Sutton United sessions? Do you find people are going off and creating their own social world based on that?
Just beginning to see some signs. I mean, we've had a couple of social events that we've done separately, back at Christmas and then a few weeks ago for the summer, and that was really well attended. We had about 40 people come along for the summer with partners and family members. Again, we're starting to see sort of groups within the group and meeting up, particularly during the summer holidays. There's a teacher who wouldn't normally be available to come along to one of the boxing sessions, but they come to the boxing sessions, and after that they go back off with friends and go have a coffee afterwards. So starting to form some of those close social friendships. I hope Lady in question won't mind me saying that someone's turning 50 later on this year, and has invited all of the Parkinson's group along to close to that treat, saying it wouldn't be my 50th birthday if you all weren't there. So that's good to feel that friendship already.
When you were in the corporate world, you used sport and coaching and things like that as for your mental health and to give you a break from the stresses of that. What are you doing now to get away from the stresses of coaching and sport and doing that? Are you going to the corporate world or reading the Financial Times on a Sunday?
I still still enjoy the sort of running, cycling, swimming. I mean, to be honest, what I'm doing now, it's obviously from a time commitment point of view, it's not as demanding as my old course. I'm able to spend an hour or so each day some form of exercise, and often some days it's a bit more intense than others. Sometimes if it's a nice sunny morning, it might just be a few stretches, sunshine. But that to me is still my way, even if it's not completely dissimilar from what I'm doing on the day. But I do also feel the the solitude and peace and quiet of reading, and again, that's something I'm probably doing more of an effort now, just to put time in my day to shut myself away or take myself off the park, to half hour, 45 minutes at lunchtime, whatever it might be. So there's still a need just to find whatever
to switch off.
Any plans to go back to the corporate world, maybe? Still keeping in touch with your colleagues out there?
Yeah, it's been a year now. I think When I took this break, I mentioned earlier, described it as an extended break. I think if I'm away for too much longer, it's hard to get back in on the regulations change over time. So, not to completely close that door, won't go back full time. I won't stop what I'm doing, but if there's something that I can find that works for a day or two a week alongside other people that I'm doing, then that's something like perhaps start having a few conversations once we're the other side of the summer.
About you, I said to my colleagues where I was working, I'm going to take some time off and then I'll come back afterwards. I spoke to one of my colleagues, my friends, and he said, if you take more than a year off, you'll never go back again. 2 years later, I still haven't got an It becomes very addictive to own your whole life and be able to do that.
I think, my dad said to me when I took the break, he said, it's a long time. He's working to be retired, and I was trying to make the point I'm not retiring, it's just taking a step away from what I've been doing. If I never go back, then that means I found something else that I enjoy doing even more. Interesting things about the old world that I used to operate in, so I'm not quite ready to close the door completely yet, but at the same time enjoying what I'm doing today.
How does your, in this world you're in now, how does that evolve how does the future look to you? Do you build on what you're doing at the moment? Do you make it more successful, or do you reach out to more charities and bring them increasingly into that sporting kind of world?
Yeah, I think, again, I touched earlier on that we're not such a resource foundation that we can run multiple sessions for different charities and causes and conditions. What we want to do is to put on a core program of sporting activities for people with all conditions, and we can adapt each session for people who have. We're just starting now to talk about making our sessions wheelchair accessible. Not out right now, but we certainly will be able to do that. So within sort of the existing program of events, one football session a week, 2 boxing sessions a week. Away from the foundation, but I do an inclusive cycling group as well, so into the modern cycling side of things. Maybe something around tennis. These different sessions, if we can put on, let's say, a session for each day of the week, and get those sessions to be sufficiently well attended that they are self-financing, and that to me is success. At the moment, as I said, we've got really good attendance at football, we're working on getting the boxing where it needs to be. We've still got a bit of a way to go to make both of those cover their costs in terms of put the pitch higher. I've got a couple of professional boxing coaches that lead boxing sessions, so we've got to cover their costs, and they're not expensive. People are need to help out and have that community spirit that we're looking for, but they do have costs that we need to cover. So do need to get a few more people through the door to these sessions so that the group as a whole is currently stressed.
And are these very male orientated, these sessions and the sports?
No. I mean, again, the 25 I mentioned earlier on, about 10 or 11 of those are female. I'm really pleased with that, and that's without any particular drive on our part to be to aim at female participants. It's how it's naturally evolved. We're really pleased it's evolved that way, because obviously that helps us be more open to others thinking of coming along. I've got quite a wide age range of people. Got a few people still in their 40s, and at the moment our oldest participant is 87. Now we're very happy to go a lot younger and a lot older, and that because it's a wide age range, and frankly quite a wide range of abilities as well, both the football and the boxing. But it's for me and then the boxing coaches to make sure that we're adapting our sessions to suit anybody. If someone comes along and says, well, I can't come back because we will change the session. Just repeated that. Just going back to the last point, one of the challenges that I'm going to have as we get more people through the door, and football in particular, is setting up training exercises that everybody can do, because I've got people who've been coming along for a year who were playing football before they came along, and we've got really quite a high standard that they play at, and then you've got other people who might come along and they've looked at the ball for 30 or 40 years, and it's a bit of a challenge to make sure sessions work for everybody. That's probably the next step of the challenge for me as we continue to grow a bit.
I've done some coaching badges just in mainstream football, and I know how hard it is even for people in the mainstream to coordinate sessions that work for everybody. So when they're dealing with multiple different challenges, it must be. Have you done special qualifications in the footballing world to help you coach in that kind of environment?
The sort of the standard FA course is just get you up and running. Helping out coaching my sons under 16s with the Sutton United Colts last year, so a number of courses to get up and running there, but also some of their disability modules as well. And there was a really good course that Parkinson's UK provide for people like me. That was a real eye-opener actually, just to see what really helps people with Parkinson's the most out of exercise. I would rather imagine you have to be quite gentle and very careful about what you do, which you need to make sure that you're doing sessions and exercises that are appropriate, but the training with light and hard, get them out of breath, get them out. It was really helpful to have that insight from people who know far more than I do, because before I was doing this I had no experience of Parkinson's at all, so I would have been far too gentle there before.
I always remember running a session for the kids and I don't know, pre-YouTube, I suppose YouTube had started up and I'd put all these cones out. And then I was following a coaching session, a Dutch coaching session. I always thought the Dutch, the way they played football, total football, everybody was so technically skilled. And then the first was do not put any cones out. And I thought, I've just put out 15 cones. Take them all back. No, bring the cones back. It's, really interesting. I mean, I wondered because thinking back then, there were parents who certainly used it as childcare for an hour or an hour and a half. And then there were parents who wanted their sons, daughters to improve their skills and, maybe not have a crack at the Premier League or something, but at least improve at the standard they were playing at. And I wondered it's difficult to imagine. I mean, I've got some personal experience of dealing with someone with dementia. So often it's very difficult to persuade them that this is for their own good or this is a good thing they should be doing. It must be challenging for the families to bring people along who are at different stages of Parkinson's, and how they feel. Do they look at it as a release from their pressures? Because for an hour or so they're passing their charge on to you. How do the families look at it? How do the support network of some of the people? I mean, some people don't have a support network, but those that have, how do they view you? Do you know?
There's a range of responses on that, to be honest, John. There are, a number of the players are capable of getting themselves football, and you hear about their family think about this through them, but they're sort of quite self-sufficient from that point of view. I will come down, family come down and watch, particularly at school holiday time. It's great because grandkids come and take part. It's really nice for grandkids to play with. And I think for some of them, it's just the key thing for me is just families seeing their loved one enjoying things, because that's whether it's used to love football and they missed it so much and now they're enjoying their football again, or they might never have played football but now they found something about that they love coming along, touched on earlier on, they love coming in the coffee afterwards. They're probably not that fussed about the football, but it's coming down to the important. So again, it's a whole range of responses, but again, I'll just go back to the summer event we had with the Parkinson's group a few weeks ago. So nice, so many family members came along, getting people that I heard about but hadn't met, or people that you see through the fence and have a wave to each week that you never get to have a good chat with them. So to be able to catch up with them is really good.
And are you playing walking football, or are you still on an 11-a-side full-size pitch with?
I very rarely get on an 11-a-side pitch, other than with the under 16, which is not a full-size. I play Monday nights. A great group. I'm one of the younger ones. So that's walking football. That's sort of old man football, as my kids call it. So that's good fun and keeps me active.
Good. I mean, for me, one of the things that's interesting because I am from a world probably more like your father, self-employed, own business, and I've wound that down over the last couple of years, particularly over the last year, 18 months. And people say to me, "Are you retired?" And I think, I'm not retired, I just am trying to do other things. I don't feel... And I think there's definitely a movement for people not to retire in terms of stopping everything and not working and not doing anything. Certainly, probably even 10, 15 years ago, I mean, people wouldn't say you couldn't take a career break at 50. They'd be like, that's it, you're out. You're out. There's no coming back. So in my world, it's definitely about the networks that I find that when I talk to people, either they've been made, oh no, he's no longer here, he's left or she's left, died, ill, redundant, whatever. And so your network gets smaller and smaller. So you have to fill your time with things which may not necessarily be related to the work you did, something like that. Hence we're doing podcasting as a way to fill our time. I think, the corporate world certainly is probably further ahead than the sort of self-employed world in terms of making allowances for people to mental health and making sure people have refreshers and breaks and sabbaticals and things like that. So I don't know how prevalent that was 5-10 years ago. I mean, even in the corporate world, you couldn't have had, unless you were very, very senior, 6 months off to go and do across the channel or something. It was very much, it took you 2 weeks off and then your BlackBerry was on.
Yeah, that's it. And I think mates would say to me the last couple of years when I was talking about doing this, can't you go part-time? So the role that I did, you just could not do it. And that was also why I sort of set that when you get to 50 or thereabouts, just make sure you give yourself that break and time to go and do something different. And if after 6 months it's not worked out and you want to go back, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, here we are, sort of deliveries 15, 16 months on. Still lots to do, and so I won't feel like the job's done here until we have that community of people locally that have the regular access to a range of sporting events, and when that is sort of almost running itself, then I don't want to take a step back. I don't want to stop doing it, but if I'm able to run itself, then that's the job done.
Chris, if I could just I mean, it's been great. It's really been good. If there's one, I mean, you don't have to answer. It's just a more of a personal thing. That if I wondered if you were particularly looking at the Parkinson's situation because of either a family or friends experience that you've come across in your own world that pushed you that way, or was it?
Not Parkinson's. No, I mean, family background. My mum was diagnosed with breast cancer in the mid-40s. Lived with that for 10 years, but we lost her in 2001. What stuck with me at that time was what the family go through. Any condition, life-changing condition like that. And that was really sort of the germ of the idea of this corporate career. And yes, I'm sort of 100% committed to that, but at some point I want to do something to help. And that's what my original thought was, and sort of over the couple of decades since, clearly, ideas and so on. But that was the start of the idea. And really, like I said, just when I went into Sutton United over a year ago and said, look, I love football, I'm a local community, where do we go? And that was where the Parkinson's idea came from.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that was thought-provoking, an innovative way of dealing with a growing problem. Where can we find out more?
Well, Peter, probably at this stage, send us a message via our website, 2dsinapod.uk, and we'll pass that message on to Chris, and I'm sure he'll come back to you with what, where, and when the sessions are. Okay, who's on the show next time?
Well, we have Emily Clare. She's a singer, songwriter, and music teacher.
Wow, great combination of talents. Looking forward to hearing from her.
Thanks for listening to 2Ds in a Pod.
See you next time.